Welcome to a Vanguard restriction list update video. Bushiroad has updated their website with the new restriction list. These new card restrictions will take effect on September 1st, 2019 for the Japanese game, September 20th, 2019 for the English game, and this weekend, if your locals decides to implement the new restriction list early, because regional qualifiers are right around the corner. For Standard, Sonata and Lissalot can no longer be placed in the same deck. You either choose between using a card that lets you call any random thought or a card that gives your melody units breast implants. Now watch as players demand that Bushiroad release Luca to the English game as Lissalot's replacement, because they sure as hell won't replace a grill that gives out silicone gel for free. What confuses me, however, is that Bushiroad did not implement this choice restriction for Premium as well. More on that later. For Premium, Abundant Waters Ichikishima is banned, and Magical Calico can no longer be used as a starting Vanguard. Probably the most unexpected restrictions on this list. This is the first time that Bushiroad has banned a card that was recently released at that. While I'm personally glad that Abundant Waters Ichikishima was dealt with earlier than usual, the ramifications of such restriction could lead Bushiroad into designing overpowered cards in the future, then outright banning them once their booster set stops selling. Konami 2.0 incoming. As for Magical Calico, Bushiroad probably wanted players to avoid getting V-Series Silent Tom to their hand consistently in order to slow down the Itchy Tom no fight no guard combo instead of outright restricting them, since they already banned Abundant Waters Ichikishima and didn't want to leave the clan without any win condition. Maybe I'll get my choice restriction wish next year when someone at World Championships wins with the Itchy Tom combo on stream. Ellie is also banned, and Anchu is now restricted to 1 copy per deck. Either Bushiroad knows my birthday is coming up and took it one step further and outright banned Ellie as a present, or they realized how bullshit of a card she was. Getting to guard for 25k minimum for no cost that also reuses her copies in a deck with 8 ways to G-guard was just asinine. As a lot of comments pointed out in my discussion video, even 1 copy of Ellie was still too powerful. I would have never considered banning her until now, because the game has come to a point that an outright ban is needed in order to balance the deck. Meanwhile, while putting Anju to 1 kills the deck, or at least cripples it like a fish out of water, it just gives another build to rise up from the deep depths of Standard. It is officially later. Sonata and Lissalot being not choice restricted in Premium will lead to a lot of problems in the future. Not only can they abuse Karo with Megiddo-chan to bring out retired Sonatas, they can also do the Lissalot rush plays against Generation Break reliant decks early game. Any deck in Standard can keep up with any G-era deck, as long as you give it a G-zone. Isn't that right, Maiden of Trailing Rose? Kith is also no longer allowed to be a starting Vanguard. While I still believe that V-Series bow mains should be the one that needed to be hit, Ezel decks now need 2 cards instead of 1 in order to start their speed runs. This does not change the fact that they are still a high roll deck. Players will just shift their hate towards the V-Series Wonder Ezel in the instance he becomes the new high roller fuckboy in the clan. Finally, Jamya Kango and Shiranui Rin can no longer be placed in the same deck. I already said in my previous video discussion why this was needed. While people did point out that it kept the top tier decks in check acting as a anti-meta deck, it was very unfair for a clan to disrupt the only way of interacting in this game. If I wanted to play a game where I couldn't do anything to my opponent's moves, I would have gone back and played Yu-Gi-Oh instead. As an added bonus, let me read their reasoning behind their choices when they restrict cards with sarcastic transitions. Reduces the variety of clans used in tournaments. Lengthens time needed for a game to extremes. Will greatly affect many of the future cards under development. Behavior that is unpleasant to encounter and requires complex methods to handle. That is not by design intention. And that concludes this Vanguard restriction list update. Be sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments how your locals is now filled with token rush players and it's not fun.